What up, what up? Welcome to another episode of Water for the Thirsty, the word simply, the word refreshing. We here to talk a little bit about the good word and our experiences with it. It's a little bit more engaging completely across the board than it was for the last time, since the last time we was here, because we moved through Romans and Matthew into Numbers and Psalms, and we've finally put Leviticus in our rearview mirror. So it's a little bit more engaging. We're getting to see Sharika's favorite God in action and on full display, lighting people up
My man.
and honoring people for lighting people up and all that excitement. And then we get to contrast that with Jesus in the New Testament in Matthew and um, his firmness, but his gentleness, and we get that on display. And then we get David who's showing his behind again, because, and I'm going to start there. Psalm 40, I was like, that's not what I said, all right? But I used the N word, all right? I did use the N word.
Keep it real. Keep it a buck. Keep it a buck.
Like the last time I talked about David, right? I said, yo, I want to be like that. And then I realized he was just being selfish, right?
Mhm.
And then I read Psalm 40 this week. And he makes this bold statement, at least this is the way it reads in the Bible I'm reading. Psalm 40, verse 1. I was patient while I waited on the Lord. I was like, oh, okay, aspiring for patience. He turned to me and heard my cry for help. I was sliding down into the pit of death, and he pulled me out. And because he said he waited patiently, I was like, all right, he's declaring his patience. Pulled me out of the mud and the dirt. He set my feet on a rock. He gave me a firm place to stand on. Man, if I could just hold on like David and be patient, I could have that too. He gave me a new song to sing. It was a hymn of praise to the Lord. Many people will see and have respect for the Lord. It's like, man, what a testimony, right? Deliverance. They
Right.
will put this trust in him. Then he goes and he makes this bold statement in verse 4. Blessed is the person who trusts in the Lord. They don't trust in the proud people. Those proud people worship statues of the gods. Lord my God, no one can compare to you. So then I turned the page. It was good on the last page. You have done so many wonderful things. You have planned to do these things for us. There are too many for me to talk about. You didn't want sacrifices and offering. You didn't want burnt offering and sin offering. You opened my ears so that I could hear and obey you. Then I said, here I am. It is written about me in the book. My God, I have come to do what you want. My Lord, I'm inspired now, right? Like carrying on. Told a whole community of those who have worshipped you. I've told them what you've done to save me, like real testimony. Lord, you know that I haven't kept quiet. I haven't kept to myself what you did for me, that you did for me what was right. I've spoken about how faithful you were and how you saved me. I haven't hidden your love and your faithfulness from the whole community. Lord, don't hold back your mercy from me. May your love and faithfulness always keep me safe. And I'm assuming like it did before. There are more troubles all around me than I can count. My sins have caught up to me. I can't see any longer. My sins are more than the hairs of my head. I've lost all hope. I'm like, where are we going now? Like, what is happening?
My heart
The
fails.
very next line is, Lord, please save me. Lord, come quickly to help me. I was like, well, wait, didn't he just say I was patient while I waited on the Lord?
But now my patience has expired.
I was about to say,
Yep.
was he even patient, or was he like, I've been patient? Should he have said, I've tried to be patient, as opposed to the big declarative statement, I was patient while I waited on the Lord?
Yeah,
Maybe it's a Greek Hebrew thing, right? It's like I've been patient over here. What?
Yeah,
I think
maybe,
he tells
because
truth. He said, I was patient. In the present tense, however, I am not.
I
I have shown patience. I am impatient. Now save me. Fix this.
come quickly.
Yeah.
I'm
Move
like, you're
this.
patient or you're not patient? Which is it? I'm confused.
No, I was.
Mm.
Oh.
Patience isn't a continuum.
What? While I waited for the Lord. But I'm not anymore. Okay.
No, not anymore. Listen, David is a real one. I think David is the best example of us now. He the realest one. And God still pull up with the foolishness. I love this for us. For us.
It's like the way he just make these, statements about himself, and then display something.
Kind of country.
It's be more aspirational. It's not, this is my state. It's, this is where I would like to be.
This is my trajectory. Yeah. Not quite there yet, but
this is what I've gone in for. I've gone in for patience while I waited.
No. On level 2, I had patience.
Oh, you had level 2 patience.
I'm on level 4 now, and this is getting out of hand. So therefore, make haste. Make haste.
With alacrity.
So if I make it to 2 weeks, I was patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that it's going on 3 months, it's taking too long.
Your fault. We in the night no more. It's finished. Like finished. I finished. This is enough. It's like when your kids are playing, and they're making noise and you've been patient. You're like, all right, easy enough. And then the next thing you know, you get hit in the head with a plastic football. Hello, like patience run out. Like it's finished. I'm now in another state.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my interpretation of what his patience was. I may have given him credit in my own mind for something he wasn't. Okay.
He wasn't. He said what he said. I was past tense. Here we are. No. It's not delivered me. It's delivered. Present tense. Come now. Fix this. Make haste is what my Bible says. Make haste to help me.
Yeah, mine says come quickly. So yeah, same sentiment. Man. So I guess
I love this part. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Let those be appalled because of their shame who say to me, aha, aha. That's it. That's the line right there. That's the line.
Yep.
For those who just coming in, Courtney, we on Psalm 40. I was contrasting again the way David started off with his bold declaration of, being in one place, and then as we read, we realize he was somewhere else. And Shrika's giving us perspective on where he might have been coming from. Yes, I would say it that way.
He also clarifies it in 16. He says, but may all those who seek you rejoice and be glad. May those who love your salvation continually say, great is the Lord. As for me in my house, I am poor and needy. But Lord, I know you over there thinking about me. You've always done this. You're my help. You're my deliverer.
Yeah. And there it is. But don't wait any longer.
But make haste. Okay.
Yeah.
But
you are my God. So don't wait any longer. That's the final word there. And you see the contrast between last verse and the first verse? I was patient while I waited for the Lord.
As for me.
But you are my God, so hurry up.
Hurry up. Hello. And this is what I tell people about my relationship with God. To be like, oh my gosh, you have to have faith. I don't doubt that God can. I want it now. This isn't a doubt thing. This is a timing thing. Okay. My patience is low. Make haste. Let's go.
Yeah.
So David has great faith. He just doesn't have patience.
Yeah, and he was testifying about it. This is what you did, and I talk about all that you was doing, but hurry up.
All of that is like a motivator to get God to,
Let me remind you of who you are. Let me remind you of who you are and what you've done. So therefore, now that I've reminded you, act like you know. Like
according to knowledge, right? Yeah.
But here's a better question: do faith and patience have to run hand in hand?
That's the question. That's the $1 million question. If I am, if I have faith, am I patient? Or does faith translate into patience? Or how
It,
much patience?
it
Or how
can.
long? It can?
Is it a requirement?
No, because not every situation of faith will require you to be patient.
Talk to
We
me
were
nice.
referencing Psalm 40, right?
Right.
Oh, never mind. I'm
Where
out this conversation.
no, you're not out of this conversation because
The song.
we found that David is a real one, right? Okay, he starts off Psalm 40, very first line. I was patient and I waited for the Lord. And then he goes on for a page and a half about all the good things God did and how he testified and how God delivered him, whatnot. And then he starts transitioning somewhere about verse 13 and he says, my troubles are around me more than I can count. My sins have caught up with me any longer. I can't see any longer. My sins are more than the hairs on my head. I've lost all hope. Lord, please come save me. Lord, come quickly to help me. So he went from being patient to rushing God, right?
No, he wasn't rushing God. He made his needs known.
Yeah,
Hello.
but he put a timeline on it, right? He was like,
Yes,
come
expeditious.
quickly. You all
Expeditiously.
said what? Make haste?
Make haste
He
is what
said,
mine.
say make haste. His mind say, come quickly. And then he closes out the chapter by saying, Sharika pointed out in 16, he says, let all who seek you be joyful and be glad because of what you have done. Again, I'm going to go and say past tense, Sharika.
Mm-hmm.
Let those who count on you to save them always say, the Lord is great. But, mine have a capital but here. I am poor and needy. May the Lord be concerned about me. You are the God who helps me and saves me. You are my God, so don't wait any longer.
And mine says, "Do not delay."
Do
Yeah.
not delay. Mine says,
Go
as for
fix.
me, as for me, as for me in my house, I'm poor and needy. I want to remind you of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
We have a comment from Batman here. He says, I think more often they do not go together. And I'm guessing he's referring to the
They
question about
do. They
faith and
do go
faith.
together.
Oh, they do go together. No, they do. Yes, they do go together. All right.
My
Yes.
question of whether or not patience has to go with faith.
All right. So, in the light of this, Kenrick, in light of watching this real one pray here, honoring God, celebrating God for what He has done, but trying to move the needle and rush the brush, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I'm not. I'm. I think. I think yes and no. I think it can and it can. I don't think it has to.
Mm.
Um, because there might be a time where God just needs you to you have something and God's like, let's do it now. You don't have to wait.
God is like that, or am I like that in my prayer? Which
I'm
is it?
saying, I'm saying, I'm saying it could be where God is like wanting, like ready to move now,
Mm.
right? And right, it could be a situation where even you're in your prayer, you're like, and He says, yes, okay, let's go. Or I think to Batman's point, I think more often than not, I think we're always kind of in a waiting period, a patient period. I think that does happen more often than not.
Is
But I
it
don't. I
is
wouldn't say.
is waiting and patience the same thing?
Was that again?
Is waiting and patience the same thing?
I don't think it's the same thing, but just because I think you could patiently wait,
Yeah.
but
Or
I think that
impatiently wait.
or impatiently wait. But I do think patience is a big key to this relationship, to this thing that we have with God, because it's the not moving sometimes where we want something like David. I want you to come and take care of this now,
Is
and it
that
may
is
not
that
be.
No.
impatience?
No.
Huh?
Is having
No,
a
no, no, no.
timeline impatience?
No, 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 no. I'm saying you may have to. I'm saying patience is I may want you to come take care of this now, and God doesn't. The patience is allowing the timeline to occur. If and maybe it just doesn't happen, but sometimes it does take time for God to do what He needs to do because there are other things that we can't see working.
Mm.
I I think I can impatiently wait. And I do that really well. I'm just talking about myself. I do this really well. I'm gonna.
What does that look like?
What do you mean, God? You act like I asked you for this last week. Like I don't understand. I like again. It goes back to I know you can, but now you're playing with me. Now you're playing in my face. Can we hurry this up, please? Then I come back next week. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking to you about this because I think you know what I'm about to say. So like, and we keep going back and forth. I'm impatient, but I have serious faith that you're gonna get it done. I just want it when I want it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: is that what David is doing here?
Yeah.
Impatiently waiting, or and I guess I'm trying to figure out at what point. How do I detect in my heart whether I've crossed into impatience if I have a desired timeline? How can I tell? What does impatience look like that I can tell the difference between wanting what I want when I want it and being impatient?
So impatience, I think definitely reflects like an attitude, right? There's a difference between asking and checking in. I think about my kids, right? If I tell my kids ask something, I'm like, wait, and they come back and it's nagging. That's a little bit impatient. If they come back, it was like, hey, just wanted to keep this in front of you. I asked you about this. I think it's the how it's done that reflects the impatient, because I think you can patiently wait and still ask and check in.
So impatience is a attitude of. Tell me again.
I think there's an underlying. I think impatience is kind of like an underlying disrespect, like not respecting. You're asking something from someone else or waiting on someone else to do something, so they actually kind of control the situation. And I think it's the level of respect or how you communicate that thought that regret. I think patiently waiting doesn't mean that you're quiet. But I do think impatiently waiting means, is an underlying
Because when I
attitude
touch a
or
borderline, try to take control. So like if I'm like David in this and I'm saying, yo, can you please move faster, as opposed to, yo, move on my time.
Yeah. No, absolutely, 100%. I think that's in my head, that's what I think of. Now that's my opinion, my thought.
So I think faith. I know I came in half for this conversation. I don't even know if I'm going in the right direction, but I think for me, faith is tied to knowing who the source is, and the patience part of it, like in the definition, it's waiting to move, right? So it doesn't mean you're not the arrest the desire to act, right? So I can know the source, believe in who my help comes from. I can not move as I'm waiting, but I might be praying without ceasing. I would keep praying to you till this thing comes to fruition, because I know you're the one that can do it.
I can hit the refresh button to see if the status change on the thing.
Right. Let me just keep checking in and see where it's going. But my faith is still in who my help comes from.
And then rolling up in the office and climbing over the desk and trying to move more people up in the front of the line. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I want to add to that. I think impatience is when I'm trying to move an already decided upon timeline. So if we say we're going to do it at 8 and I come to you at 7:30, I'm being impatient because I'm asking. You already told me when you're going to do it. I think a lot of times, to Lorraine's point, we don't have a date. And so I'm checking in. Hey, this is getting harder, sir. I'm not doubting that you can do it. I'm actually not even making any movements myself, so I'm not even being disobedient. I'm coming back to you because I'm trying to figure out what we doing. And so I don't think I'm being impatient because you didn't tell me when. So I'm coming back and I'm hitting you with so now? No? Okay, cool. So now?
Are we there yet?
Right.
I don't think that's impatient.
Oh my God. No.
No, that's my point. I'm saying that's not impatient. I think impatience only comes in when there's been a decided delivery, and I'm now trying to expedite my delivery date after I've been told.
Yes and no. I sure it can. Like I said, I'm just thinking about it from the aspect of, if my girl's asked to do something and I'm processing through it, I may have an idea of when I most likely can do it, right? And I'm like, all right, just give me some time to figure this out, right? If they just keep coming back, like, when are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it? Why aren't you doing it? Da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, that begins to be impatient, right? And they don't have a date or time. I don't even have a date or time, right? And so I think, I don't know if God needs to communicate it in order for it to be impatient. But to your point, I don't think that, continually asking and praying. I mean, he tells us pray without ceasing. So, I mean, the asking and praying and and quote unquote fake reminding him is, I think it's well within your right, and I don't think that's impatient.
It's a how
And,
question, no matter
and
what.
unless he tells you stop talking, like, stop. I got you.
I wanted to hop in here real quick.
Okay.
Uh, really quick, I was looking at Isaiah 49, 14 through 16, and this one is near to me because it's real. um, because of my new life, this one speaks on like a child, right? So it's like the Lord has forsaken me and my Lord has forgotten me. Can a woman forget her nursing child and not have compassion on the son of her womb? Surely they may forget, yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you in the palms of my hands. Um, like for me, it's like when you're dealing with the little infant, there, you could have just fed them like an hour ago. But you swear the way they get on is like you ain't gonna come and feed them again. You like, yo, just give me give me a moment, give me a second. You know what I mean?
You're
I'm
very
coming.
full. You're good.
Yeah,
Relax
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. I got you last time, right? Right, I got you. And it's just like this thing with the feelings, right? It's like David felt like God had forgotten him. He felt like God is hiding. And, I think there's this balance that we have as human beings with our feelings that we have to do. Like, yes, the feelings are good. They're like everybody's been saying, like, it's all right to have those feelings. Like, God made us this way to have these feelings. And, we're made in his image. So we know that having these feelings are perfectly normal, right? But I think it's just about not being ruled by our feelings, right? There's situations where um, we can't trust our feelings per se. You know what I mean? It was like it was all right for David to feel those feelings, and it was good that he took them to God, like Kenrick said. But at the same time, we shouldn't like accept the reality of feelings as reality. Like if that makes any sense. Like,
Yep,
um,
yep. I'm with you there, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Mezzo Z put a nice comment in the chat here. It's not all going to fit, so I'm going to have to read the cutoff part. Question is repeatedly praying and asking God for the same thing over and over a sign of lacking faith that he will do the thing? I struggle with asking repeatedly because I do believe he heard me the first time. I was raised with the phrase, who beg, don't get.
Who the beg don't want?
A closed mouth don't get fed. Squeaky wheel gets all the grease, all of that. So I struggle with asking God for anything more than once. Maybe my patience goes too far. P.S. I can pray without ceasing, but the prayer doesn't have to be about the same thing.
My opinion, I'm with you. My faith is so strong that I ain't asking you again. I know you heard me. Like, I know you heard me. And if I do ask again, I feel desperate. And I just be like, why are we doing this? I hate it. But I don't think it's a lack of faith. I think it's a lack of patience, but I don't think it's a lack of faith per se. Well, It's a lack of patience for me. I can't speak to you, Mesozo. I know when I ask again, it's because I'm ready for it, or I believe I'm ready for it, and I can't understand why we're not delivering.
But I think it's different, right? I mean, it's situational. You know, um, I think it depends on, I think it depends on the thing that you're looking for and how near and dear or how important or how painful or how hurtful or how desperate you are. That really starts reflecting the attitude in it. And and more so, like, how often you pray. I mean, do you pray for the same thing? I mean, we saw, I don't really like the example. I'll use it. Um, but when Abraham's negotiated with God over Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Only thing in the conversation that changed was the number. It's the same ask over and over and over again, right? And so, and God entertained it. He knew where it was going to go because he already knew, you know, that there was not enough, right? But he entertained it, and I think he does that with us. I mean, I think the ask is part of the process. It's part of the conversation.
I think
I
it's
would
more
like
than the
to.
ask, Henrik. And I say that because I agree with you, but I think I am also going to affirm what you said earlier. The ask is part of it, but it's also the posture of the ask.
100% agreed.
It's not just the ask, but yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, absolutely.
let's go to Luke Courtney, Luke 11, 1 to 13.
Okay. Uh, Once Jesus was in a certain place praying, as he finished, one of his disciples came to him and said, "Lord, teach us to pray, just as John taught his disciples." Jesus said, "This is how you should pray. Father, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come soon. Give us each day the food we need, and forgive us our sins, and we forgive those who sin against us, and do not let us yield to temptation." Then, teaching them more about prayer, he used this story. Suppose you went to a friend's house at midnight wanting to borrow 3 loaves of bread. You say to him, "A friend of mine has just arrived for a visit and I have nothing for him to eat." And suppose he calls out from his bedroom, "Don't bother me. The door is locked for the night and my family and I are all in bed. I can't help you. But I tell you this, though he would or though he won't do it, for friendship's sake, if you keep knocking long enough, he will get up and give you whatever you need because of your shameless persistence. And so I tell you, keep on asking, and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and to everyone who knocks, the door will be open. Your Father, if your children ask for a fish, do you give them a snake instead? Or if they ask for an egg, do you give them a scorpion? Of course not. So if you sinful people know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give the Holy Spirit to those who ask Him? Uh,
Quickly go to Luke 18 and read
1 through 8.
1 through 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. I was like,
okay. One day, Jesus told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. There was a judge in a certain city, he said, who neither feared God nor cared about people. A widow of that city came to him repeatedly, saying, "Give me justice in this dispute with my enemy." The judge ignored her for a while, but finally he said to himself, "I don't fear God or care about people, but this woman is driving me crazy. I'm going to see that she gets justice because she's wearing me out with her constant requests." Then the Lord said, "Learn a lesson from this unjust judge. Even he rendered a just decision in the end. So don't you think God will surely give justice to his chosen people who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will grant justice to them quickly. But when the Son of Man returns, how many will he find on earth who have faith?"
So I'm wondering how much the faith is tied to the continual ask. And is it the ask for anything, or does it matter that the context here is justice? Does it ask for anything you want repeatedly without ceasing and be incessant like this old woman? and that's going to be reflective of your faith? Or does it matter that this verse is about justice? And does it matter that the last verse was about the Holy Spirit or gifts or needs? What was the last verse about? Luke 11. I know he ended with the Holy Spirit, but other verses, another rendition of that story doesn't have the Holy Spirit mentioned. I think it just says, you know, how much will your heart Father give good gifts to those who ask him? It's another verse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I read NLT, so it did say Holy Spirit on that one.
No, Luke says Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
But the story shows somewhere else in one of the other Gospels.
Okay.
Luke is the only one who Luke
Okay.
gives it the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
I gotta put a pin in that. I had a question.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think the Bible, and you know, I think it's specific in instances, and sometimes it's just like, you know, there are examples that are used as a template, right? That could be applied to various other things. I don't know. I would probably assume that it's more of a template and that it can be applied, you know, across, you know, other disciplines or whatnot. But you know, I couldn't say that with 100% certainty.
Let me ask it this way. What's the message about? I know the takeaway is keep asking, but to Mezzo's question, does the repeated ask reflect faith or lack of it based on these verses? And I ask that because the last verse that we read says, you know, after we talked about repeating to ask, because God will give justice. The question then Jesus asks is, will he, when the Father comes, will he find faith on the earth? Or when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth or whatever? So is there a tie-in to my faith and the continual ask?
So I guess my thing is, the verse where it talks about, you know, if you, everyone who seeks and finds, or everyone who seeks finds. I think the asking and the seeking and going about it is just, I mean, seeking is different than, you know, taking a glance. Like seeking is a continuous process. When you seek something, like it wasn't the first time and it wasn't the second time and it wasn't like and it's very intentional in you going about trying to locate that particular thing. And so, so I do think it's a continual process. I mean, I don't think it doesn't stop. And he used, you know, there's so many examples that he used even in this small reading that leads you to believe that no, like you don't stop asking, you don't stop seeking, you don't stop asking, because as you know, and once again it goes back to the relationship. He likened it to a father and a child. I mean, this is these things, I think are important in kind of setting the tone of what his expectation is of us as we're going through the process.
Yeah, I'm a lean in a little bit further there, Kenrick, and I agree with you. Something because of what the statements you made earlier, I'm listening to these stories differently. The setup for both stories, the nature of the relationship is a magistrate and a lady who is seeking recourse for her situation. This lady never goes and takes up solving her problem on her own. She doesn't get to the place where she's fed up with the judge and do it, and she goes and take matters in her own hand. She keeps coming back and saying, the resolution to this problem is your responsibility. So please handle your business and take care of this for me.
That's a good point.
That's the posture at which she comes, which is what you kind of alluded to earlier in terms of the how of the act, or the difference between impatience and patience is the whole idea of responsibility and resisting the urge based on Jerry's definition to take action on your own.
Correct.
And actually allowing you the latitude to be responsible for this thing without trying to get in your space, but holding you to the thing that you are responsible for. And I think I see that in the parent-child relationship as well, right? The parent, if the child is coming and leaving the responsibility to provide to the parent, then the same kind of idea.
It also comes down to the intensity of the ask, because they, to your point, I mean, they know that you're the only one that can do it.
And that's where the faith is, right?
It's well, yes and no. Like, the girls will come and ask me something, right? And it's faith, but it's also based upon the track record, right? It's because you've done this before, you've done something similar. Every time I come to you, when you have performed, There's something I can't do, right? And so I know you've done this in the past. And so that's my faith is I'm now coming back to you because there's something new, right? And, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you, because I know that you can't do it. And I guess that's the other thing is that, I struggle with, because if I could do it, I'd probably just go to do it. Right? Which is another conversation problem in and of itself. But yeah, I think it's also just the intensity and of the ask is also because they just know, to your point, about the lady and the relationship with the magistrate, is that only that person can do it.
And that's what I'm asking. Is that awareness and adopting that posture where the faith actually is? I just think 100%. About the other stories where he said the Roman soldier is like, I know you could do it. You could just say the word. Like, it's the recognition of the authority, or at least the responsibility of this individual, and deferring to that. I'm wondering if that's where the faith is. And so as long as I'm in that space and my ask is coming from that space, my ask is being driven by faith. This is me thinking out loud. Y'all could respond.
Yes, because I mean, it was in the reading. It was in the reading today when we went through Matthew 6, and that's one of the things that stood out to me in the reading was kind of along that line where he's talking about it's not your job to worry about everyday life. I take care of all these different things, right? The birds, they don't worry about it; they eat. The lilies don't worry about it; they're the prettiest thing out there. I mean, I don't know, Halle Berry, but anyway, but that's I'm not gonna whatever. So yes. And so you look at all these things and 100%. He's just like, this is where your faith should be in me. I take care of everything. So if I want to get it done, I'll get it done.
Good. Got some more here from Mezzo. Then if we are to keep asking, and it is not a demonstration of lack of faith, is it the understanding of faith that should change? I mean, am I not understanding faith? For me, it has been a belief that God will do what is best for me, knowing what I have asked for and making a determination of what is best for me.
It's off to the side.
Begging God for something and Him just giving it to me, even if it's not for my own good, does not comfort me. Makes me think of the Israelites begging for quail and getting it at their detriment. I'm gonna put back up the other one because I thought that's what you were asking me to do, Kenrick.
Yeah, I was trying to understand. And if we had to keep that.
Well, like I thought about like when my daughter's hungry, 'cause now she's always hungry. I don't know what's going on. But like if she's hungry, she'll say, hey, you know, she'll ask for food. Now there's asking for food because she's doubting I'm gonna provide the food. And there's asking for food because the hunger pangs hit her and she was like, oh, I'm still hungry. I'm still waiting because I'm still hungry. I still haven't had food yet. So I think it matters what's behind the ask. I think what behind, you know, yes, there's the faith of knowing that he's the source and he's the one that you're supposed to depend on. But then if you're asking and doubting, then you're going to keep asking because like, I don't know if he's going to do it. I don't know if he, you know, that kind of thing. But for her, like, if the hunger pain hits you and it hits you again, like, you know, like it's not about doubting. It's like, hey, I'm hungry. Hey, hey, over here, I'm hungry.
I guess
you.
this question I have is the fact that I ask. There's no doubt for me. I'm not asking someone that I know can't deliver, and that maybe that's a bad trait of mine. But if you can't do it, I'm not wasting my time to be disappointed. So, like, I don't think it's an if I have faith. The fact that I got up and boldly asked is I know you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I'm motivated by something that I know you ain't gonna give me, or I'm motivated by truly seeking to, you know, follow whatever, that's up for discussion. But I think anyone who goes on their knees or fervently prays has removed doubt, in my opinion, because at that point, even if it's a Hail Mary, I know people who've said, I prayed, I just didn't have any other option. That in itself is saying, I believe that even if this is Jared's God or Kenrick's God, something can happen here, and I'm willing to play Russian roulette with this. You know what I mean? I think the
Russian roulette.
The doubt comes in for me is when, who was it? Who was before David? Saul? Was it Saul?
Mm-hmm.
When he didn't even ask, should he pull up on the people? He just pulled up on the people and was like, oh yeah, you know, I thought that's what you would have wanted. It is what it is. But he still even had faith that you were gonna pull me through, right? It was just I'ma just do it. I'ma just do it. So I think prayer in itself removes doubt.
But no, man, the Bible does say that you can ask and be unstable or double-minded, right, Courtney? That's James, right?
So there's a difference between being unstable and double-minded. But again, I asked because I think it's within your ability to do.
I think to Sharika's point, the point of prayer is to really move us more than it is to move God, right? So by us getting into that routine, that rigor of asking, it's likely to change our perspective that okay, he can, he will, and you know, if he hasn't yet, then there is some beneficial reason to that. Maybe he's waiting for me to change, something else to change, you know. But I think it's like any relationship. If you're having a conversation with somebody, instead of just shouting and trying to plant your flag on a hill and stick to your viewpoint, if you actually try to dialogue and talk it out, that's how you get to a point of seeing their perspective, maybe understanding where they're coming from better. So just that talking to asking with God, I think it kind of helps, you know, address our perspective, and in so doing build faith or whatever else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to add also, even to Mezzo's point, or Mizo, apologies, whichever one we're doing wrong. The Israelites were begging for quail and getting it at their detriment. The Israelites were just downright miserable, right? Like, and rightfully so. If you've never listened, Mezzo, I said I wouldn't have crossed over, right? It is what it is. But at the end of the day, they still asked. Because I just watched you tear apart Pharaoh. I watched you have other things go from the sky. I watched you swallow. I watched you do all these things. So I'm going to ask you. But it was all about the posture, as we said before, like why they wanted it. It's because I just want the comfort of life. I just want that. It has nothing to do with your capabilities and everything to do with what I want right now. And so I'm abusing this relationship.
To be fair to them, they didn't actually ask for quail. They were like, we want to go back to Egypt because in Egypt we had meat. You bring us here to die. They were complaining, not asking. And as a whole, like they didn't come with the asking posture. They didn't say, "Hey Lord, can we get some meat? It would be cool if we could have some meat." This wafer. They didn't say, "Hey, this wafer thing is, is cool and all, but we'd like to mix it up. Can we diversify our palate a little bit?" They didn't come like that.
They had this sense of
we bring us
entitlement.
in this desert to die, and all we have is this stinking manna. that was the end of it.
But Jared, even in the statement of "you brought me into this desert to die," hey, Mister, who been doing all the good stuff? This is really what we doing? Got it. It's real New York of them. I asked the question in the statement. What are we doing? But that is even faith.
I don't know that God saw it that way. He saw it as contempt.
Yeah,
he saw it as contempt for my care
not.
And my concern for you. Like to really think that, for you to really think that is my intent here. Like you watched me bring you out of Egypt and rescue you from slavery, and you really think my intent is to bring you here to die?
I'm with you.
That's what you feel about me?
David's posture is the same then David's in contempt. My man said, guess what? Everybody who thinks you're great, as for me, let's go. Like you really, this is what you want the people to do to me?
But David's a whiner.
My point is simply this. We're conversing with someone that we know is capable. Whether we like how the sentence is made or not, if I could do this myself, similar to what you said, Kenrick, I would. If I thought this would be successful, I would. However, I'm throwing it back on a person who brought me here. I'm throwing it back on the person who did the wonders. I'm throwing it back on the person who separated the seas. Whether we like the posture of the faith, the fact of the matter is there is you're bigger than me, and this is what we doing?
Yeah. Yes and no. So I guess there are situations where it was God who brought you there. There's situations where you put yourself there. Right? And so I think all of those things, then changes kind of the conversation. But even so, like it it is what it is. Like we can ask, right? And it may move him. And I think, I like Jerry's point where, most of the time you typically move. But to get down to like, to your point, they were complaining, and, it wasn't better where they were. And the reality was, at the end of the day, like, I broke you out and did all this stuff to leave you behind to die out here. Like,
you know what it reminds me of?
Let's be
as you said
realistic.
that. Remember when we were talking about when the angel came to Mary, and we were comparing it to somebody else, where it's a similar.
Zachariah.
So who? Sorry.
Zachariah.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's a similar line of questioning, similar words being used, but the posture of one is more posture of faith, and the other one is more posture of challenging and, well, I don't know if you really can. And I mean, it's a subtle nuance, but I think it's a similar thing here where, David is using similar words, whining a bit, but he's taking a different posture of, I know you can, and I really need you to. Whereas the Israelites are almost like entitled and like, well, homie, you better, because, you claim to be this. I see you do all of this, so you need to now move on my dime and my piece.
It wasn't even that, Jerry. Like, I'm reading the story in Numbers again, and they are directly challenging his intent. Like
Yeah.
they're speaking to his intent for them, his character to them, his word, his concern for them. Is you ever been with somebody who you do something for them and then they come back and they go and you
Oh
ask
yeah.
them, how did you get that about where I am? Like I care about you. How did you even come to that conclusion about this action?
Yep.
Given all that I have done for you, that you think that this is where I go in with this?
Yeah.
That is a whole different kind of conversation as opposed to, that's not a ask about, can I have more or can I have some more. That's not a reliance on my, yes, I know you care about me, and so I'm asking within the mindset of my acknowledgement of your concern or your regard. There's a you don't care about me. You don't
I
you,
don't,
you don't care about me.
I don't know if I agree. I can't say that I'm living with that because I feel like, and again, it could be my personal problems. Me and God, you know, we be going back and forth to some stuff. But for me, it's just like if you have a certain thought about yourself and all your trials and tribulations, and you're like, yo, is this really how this is gonna end? You put me through all of this not to give me what I want. Like, this looks like I'm about to fall off the cliff. And I've been there. Sometimes I'm still there, right? But I don't think that that means that I'm questioning your well-being. What I'm really questioning is whether or not we on the same page on how this story ends.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are people who have that posture. I'm saying the language of the writer of the Old Testament in describing God's response to what they're saying and his language about it. Like let's go to uh, where they were about to go into the promised land. Because God kind of speaks. One of the things I'm liking about how they write this thing is that you get a lot of from God, his reasoning and his thinking and his understanding about what the issues are and how he perceives it. Like his intent in that regard. It's not just left to interpretation. It's really clear what it is. Uh, Hold on. How long?
PG is an AI bot. It's not us. It's not real. It's a deep fake.
Troll is a troll.
Watch it disappear. Watch it.
The heck?
Oh,
All right,
God.
it's Numbers chapter 14. Let's go there. Numbers 14. Courtney, read from verse 1.
Then the whole community began weeping aloud. They cried all night. Their voices rose in a great chorus of
Hold on.
protest.
Context.
Yeah.
This is when they went, the Lord sent them to check out the land.
Yeah.
And the 12 of them come back, and the 10 gave their report. Yes?
Mhm.
All right, go ahead.
All
Listen
right.
to the language of the people as being reported, and then the language of God as they recorded here, so that we could get a better sense of what people would, what their posture was and how God read it.
Okay. Then the whole community began weeping aloud, and they cried all night. Their voices rose in a great chorus of protests against Moses and Aaron. If only we had died in Egypt, or even here in the wilderness, they complained. Why is the Lord taking us into this country only to have us die in battle? Our wives and our little ones will be carried off as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt? Then they plotted among themselves, let's choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground before the whole community of Israel. Two of the men who had explored the land, Joshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, tore their clothing. They said to all of the people of Israel, The land we traveled through and explored is a wonderful land. And if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into the land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. Do not rebel against the Lord and don't be afraid of the people of the land. They are only helpless prey to us. They have no protection, but the Lord is with us. Don't be afraid of them. But the whole community began to talk about stoning Joshua and Caleb. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to all the Israelites at the tabernacle. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people treat me with contempt? Will they never believe me, even after all the miraculous signs I've done among them? I will disown them and destroy them with a plague. Then I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they are.
All right, so they OD'd in verse 4. I was with them until verse 4, and they were just like, yo, let's find another leader. I bet y'all bugging out. I'm back with Moses at this point. However, verses 1 through 3, I got it. I understood it. I ain't gonna hold you. But 4, I think that's where the posture changed. We should find somebody new.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the snakes eat them, go skip to Numbers 21. So that was 40 years before, right?
Yeah.
That was 40 years before. 40 years later, after these people watch, maybe 40 years, within the next 40 years, over the next 40 years, at some time over the next 40 years, and so it might be year 30, it could be year 25, right? We have this story coming in chapter 21. And you can read from verse 4.
4. Then the people of Israel set out from Mount Hor, taking the road to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. But the people grew impatient with the long journey, and they began to speak against God and Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die here in the wilderness? They complained, there is nothing to eat here and nothing to drink, and we hate this horrible manna. So the Lord sent poisonous snakes among the people, and many were bitten and died. Then the people came to Moses and cried out, we have sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take away the snakes. So Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord told him, make a replica of a poisonous snake and attach it to a pole. All who were bitten will live if they simply look at it. So Moses made a snake out of bronze and attached it to a pole, that anyone who was bitten by a snake could look at the bronze snake and be healed.
Yeah. They weren't just, asking for stuff. They were challenging, God's intent and his regard for them. And like after a while, he just get fed up. You could see his patience growing thinner and thinner and thinner. The more they complain,
But even still, in this story, they're like, well, hold on. My bad. let's take it back.
Yeah, because they knew that they was wrong. Like,
not only that, they understood the sovereignty of the situation.
Oh yes,
right?
Absolutely. He made that clear by sending the snakes. Absolutely.
I think he made that clear the whole story.
Correct.
And they were just angry children that were, I'm gonna push this as much as I can.
They were angry. They were rude and disrespectful.
That too, and angry. That too. And I'm gonna push these boundaries as much as I can. And the minute that you start beating me, pause. I'm just kidding. Because, and I'm not defending them. As I said, verse 4, y'all lost me there in chapter 14. But at any given point, was there anything that was stopping them from turning back around and going back?
Only the floor eating them. Only the snakes and the ground open them up. And God killed them with fire along the edge of the
yeah, right. But then they also couldn't get back across the Red Sea, right?
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
No. But what I'm saying is every time, so whether or not they couldn't cross the sea or not, at the end of the day, could they have just said, I'm not going any further, I'll just die here? Could they have just gone back as far as they could? Could they have just gone to Edom and said, hey, take us in, we're refugees? They could have done a lot of things.
Yeah.
No, the Edomites would have killed them.
Even so, what I'm saying is, at the end of the day,
they knew that.
They thought they were dying there. So, dude in Black Panther said, I'd rather die here than to die with y'all. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, they had choices. at the end of the day, they had a choice. It was, I can die there or I can die here. And I'm still going to sit here and die here because I feel that's what's going to happen to me. But I'm still going to talk to the man in charge. Like, I think we have to give credit or a little bit to that because I have a choice. And I'm still talking to you, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, 25 years, 35, 48, whatever years later.
Right.
I'm still coming to you with my complaints. Why are you doing this? You're in charge here. Talk to me nice.
Yeah. I think the challenge isn't that, it's the respectful nature of the approach that became the issue. Yeah, they were coming to them, but they were coming in a disrespectful manner, and I think that was kind of one of the things that Kenrick helped to highlight for me, that helped me revisit these stories and look at them differently. I wouldn't want anybody to do me like that, particularly when I go out of my way to be concerned and be loving. For you to come at me that way, I would probably take issue with it.
But do I know you well enough to know your perspective? Do these people, they know of God? We've talked about this in years past. They know of God. They're at this point, they're getting to know God. We've even concluded that one of the reasons why they stayed so long is because, he had to basically re-civilize them, get them out of the bad habits of Egypt and all those things. And so, yeah, I'm with you. You wouldn't want anybody to treat you that way, but do they know you well enough? And that's a genuine question.
I don't know. I know that God felt they had enough evidence.
Mm-hmm.
They had enough evidence not to come to that conclusion based on his response. Because his response was, how long will they refuse to believe in me after all these things I have done for them? That's God's perspective. So he's thinking, I have done enough for you to know this is not where I'm coming from. You have enough evidence. Enough. And
it was not question.
And he said these 10 times, I think is what he said. So at this point, whether you really know me or not, or whether we intimate, the evidence that you have suggests that this is a far outside of where I actually am thought process. You don't have evidence to support this thought process.
So what I'm hearing you say, and I want to be clear, you don't have evidence to support your thought, but you also don't have evidence of what I'm going to do.
You have evidence of what I promised to do and that I've already begun to deliver. Y'all came out of Egypt and walked through the Red Sea on dry ground. You lived through the 10 plagues in Egypt. So you have evidence of my intent for you. Not only that, when you left Egypt, you were laden down with gold. Them people enriched you plenty. And we're not talking about the water from the rock. We ain't talking about the manna that they just pick up every day to eat. I'm feeding 1 million people every day, and you're not eating your animals to be fed, and you're not growing no crops. And everybody eating every day. So
question. For those
he keeps calling the shot.
He keeps calling the shot. So let's clarify because I'm not playing a game. I'm helping us fill in the story here. What was promised to them? The land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey?
Well, if you go back to Exodus, he said, I heard your cry, and I've come to rescue
freedom.
Yeah, and they said deliver us, right?
And I promised your great-great-great-grandfather 400 years ago that this land will be yours. And I've come to honor the land, yes, the Canaan land.
Okay.
I've come to honor that promise. And that's a promise I promised your grandfather for a long time. And you all grew up hearing this promise. I've come to deliver on that.
Cool. So if you're saying, you're not saying, the scripture is saying their first encounter is 8. You've been talking to me. It's my time. I'm going to get you out of here, bring you to the land. It's clear on that. I'm bringing it back to the idea of the patience and the faith thing. I take you out. Remember, we talked about it being a very short journey on paper, but we're kind of moving at a pace.
He takes them out. He demonstrates not just his power, but his regard for them. Because
most definitely.
Because when he does the plagues, at first it's happening to everybody, but then he shows that these people are special, they are mine, they are cared for. I treated these people different. These are my people. Like he demonstrates that in a mighty, powerful way that anybody who lived through it will be like, whoa, right?
And not only these are my people, I'm taking y'all friends along too, because we talked about the fact that there was some others that weren't Israelites that left along the way as well.
But I talk about before the actual rescue, just the
No, I get what you're saying. I'm saying I'm showing that these people are special during the plagues. I'm also showing that even if you have some association with these, your people are my people. Not all of them, but you bring the homies along. Homies can come through off of the back of the fact that I like you that much.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So we cross over. So I've shown you I love you. Or I shouldn't say that. I've shown you that I'm willing to save you, and I'm showing you that I'm here to pay on what I promised.
Yes. Then the next thing he does is he goes and enters into covenant relationship with them. Right? So they formalize the relationship. He said the terms, say, hey, I just did this thing for you. This is what I expect going forward. We could go into this relationship. What are you for? We dating or we not? Cool. And they had an opportunity to say, nah.
Cool.
We good. Thanks for the rescue, but we good. They were like, yeah, we doing this. We in this relationship. So now they under the terms of this relationship, this covenant, they entered, willingly into the terms of this relationship.
Okay.
Which is a whole next level, because now he's adopted them and taken them formally as his own. So now you have legal obligation for them as their protector, as their carer, as the responsible parent. It's almost like this person decides you want to be adopted by me or not, and I formally, legally, now I'm your parent.
Right. So now you're my parent. I have an understanding of what's supposed to take place. You have an understanding of what's supposed to take place. It's clear that they're not on the same page of understanding. And I'm saying that specifically that I have an understanding and you have an understanding. It doesn't mean that there's the same understanding based on their behavior. Right. And so
it's not all of them who have this misunderstanding.
No, I'm not saying it's all of them at all. I'm saying every man, woman, and child probably has their own interpretation of what's going on. And there are pockets of them that are, we got it, one band, one sound. And there are pockets of them that are like, meh. And there are other pockets of them are like, we is tired of this foolishness. Is that fair?
Oh, we want it our way. It's more, we want it our way. Yes, we agreed to that, but don't hold us to that.
I don't know if I feel like I got the yes, we agreed to that. However, have you really thought about how much this is costing me? That's what I got from them.
Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, the point that I'm making is he has done enough. He has done enough in his mind to demonstrate.
But I'm grounding it. I'm grounding it for us, right? For the mesos, for the sharikas out there, where it's like, yeah, it might feel like it's enough, but we're not talking the same language here. Like the love language thing isn't working. You're giving me acts of service. I really want words of affirmation. We're on two different pages here. And I feel like that's a real thing. Now, again, Israelites took it to a different level. And this is going back to the faith and patience thing. I think in both cases, there is love for each other. How this love is being received and shown is up for discussion. But I'm struggling. Because it's not that I can't. I am struggling with this notion that they were as left outside of verse 4, because they bugging right there. So they were in a continuous state of being as left as we are. And maybe I'm in that as left state as well. And maybe that's why I'm struggling with it. I'm willing to own that. But
I think they go into it. I don't know that they were like that the entire week. Go ahead, Jerry.
It looks like they, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, their question was around who God is. It was a questioning of his character. Mm-hmm. No, you just mean wicked, nasty, and bad. You have us here in the wilderness suffering. You're not feeding us. You're not. And it's like, he is saying, I have demonstrated who I am and my care for you. And when he keeps bringing them to opportunities to progress them, they're the ones who shy away. They're the ones who shoot back, but then they blame it on his character.
Yeah.
So they said, and all of them are like, oh man, we can't take over the land. But he's promised you everything before and done it for you. And then they spin around and say, well, yeah, God, you bring us out here to die. It's not a him problem, it's a them problem. And it's that accusation as old as time. I mean, it was the same thing. God is a tyrant. God is this. God is this. It always do. Now he has, right?
Yeah.
It presents itself to me.
I mean, imagine that same scenario. God says, hey, we about to cross over, people. Go check it out. Go see how sweet the land is. And in the go taste and see how sweet the land is, they come back and tell people we go and dead it over there. Let we go back to Egypt. Like,
yep.
I was trying to give you a small sneak peek to get you excited, and that's what you were here. That's what you went over there and see. You didn't see the size of them grapes. It take 2 people to carry a cluster of grapes, and all you go see is. And I am the one who's here, the same one who destroyed the whole Egypt army, who promised this to your grandfather and been keeping a promise all these times, and that's what you go see. Like, you completely miss that I was getting you to the place of here. We ready. Let's we going to finally do this thing.
Take you mighty long, my man. It wasn't even that long for us to get here. Fact of the matter is, I don't even know why we wasting all this time. Matter of fact, why we ain't just gonna go in there? Why we gotta go check it out? Why we gotta see the people? Why you gotta remind me of how untrained we are? Why you gotta talk about? Why we just run up on them? This is ridiculous. How long is it gonna take us to get over there? Anyway?
But I guess my thing, I don't know, but it's not ridiculous, Sharika. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should or do or whatever. Like, I mean, the fact that he can is a lot, right? Whether he should or not, it's not my decision. I don't have the power.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm playing this out from their potential perspective. That's all I'm
just saying. You see it throughout society, even now, right? It's you got this. Why don't you just do this? Or you can do this. Why don't you just do that? And it's like, that's not the way things work. Just because you have the ability or the power to do doesn't mean that you do. Right?
But that is not in line
for many other reasons.
But that's not in line with the text.
But
it's not in line with the text.
Was that?
It's not in line with the text, though. And
what do you mean?
Huh?
What do you mean?
How not?
Asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find. I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you that. Like, and I'm saying that because that's what we're taught. We're taught to bring your concerns, and you're gonna get this, and you're gonna get that. But now we're putting new clauses in there.
No. So
no.
You probably have been taught poorly, but clearly the same text gave the context of a child respecting the responsibility and the authority of their father. A lady, the same text talked about a lady who was coming to a judge to get justice. Like, she was coming to him because he is responsible, and she never stepped outside of her space. Like, these are important parts of the text. So maybe we heard what we wanted to hear, but the story that was told was not that. Yeah, Joshua is a perfect example. Go ahead.
If you look at Joshua as well, God repeatedly tells you, if you are willing and obedient, if you humble yourself, if you this. So God is constantly letting them know, there's all this stuff I have for you. I've prepared it for you, but it's conditional upon you behaving a particular way. And if you're not behaving that way, then he turns around, he says, if you don't behave this way, then all these plagues will come.
But Jerry, as far as I can see,
upon you, and your
as far as I can see, I'm behaving like you want me to behave. What is taking this so long? I'm not saying Israel. I'm dropping it now in 2024, right? Where it's like, I'm doing it. Right. If you would tell me what I'm not doing, then we would be in
the problem. Sometimes what God has to do is let us let us remain in a situation long enough for us to see, no, we haven't been doing it. Because we always have the highest estimation of ourselves and where we are and what we're doing and how. And it's often only when we've been down and out long enough to realize, yeah, I wasn't really, yeah, I thought I was, but I wasn't really. And I think that was the problem for Israel. So it took them 40 years, and it's their kids who inherited the land because they kept thinking, yeah, we be in this and we be in that. No, no, you're not.
I
And
mean, isn't God also preparing? Sometimes He's preparing things that are outside of us. You know, He could be preparing you, but He could also be setting up the next situation for you. Like we be looking at a situation where in the same chapter where it was like Arad and those folks, you know, they had a relationship with God as well in a sense where I'm sure we've talked about this throughout the Old Testament, where God has given certain nations that were set up in these lands. They had opportunities where God was like, "Hey, I've come to them," and however He did, I don't know if He sent someone or whatever it was, He sent them uh, messages, and they were given an opportunity to repent from a way or a lifestyle or whatever the case is. So what I'm saying is that there he's going to give them Canaan, but at the same time, he's still working out something out with these other people that are here. So what I'm saying is like not all the time our weight has to do with he's not going to do it. I know it feels like we're not getting it when we think we should, or what's the hold up, whatever. But sometimes he's really like setting up whatever it is that he's setting up. Like again, it's not about us directly. You know, you could be on point, but whatever it is that he's preparing, he's not. It ain't done. Whatever the case is, we're not always like uh, we don't always have the opportunity to know all those details. But like I said, I'm just looking at from we're reading about it now. But there's this group of people that you sit down here that God is going to use Israel to uh, declare some kind of judgment on them. They're like, and like I said, throughout our readings as a group, we have always seen that oftentimes God does that when not before, but after He's given these people opportunity to change some things about the way that they live or whatever the case is. So that I seen that throughout the whole time they've been moving through Canaan. It's like He's probably come to them hundreds of years ago or whatever the case is. God give these people a couple of time, this much time to work out some stuff. They not where they made their decision. They're not trying to move with him like that, and then he was like, all right. So it's like same time he's giving you the land, but he's also working out this judgment thing with this other group of people. Like that's all I'm saying.
agreed, Courtney. Let's read. I want to add a whole nother thing on top of that I think is at the root and the central idea on which all of these other things that you mentioned can be built. And I think there's a foundation at a little bit lower level. Go back to number 14 and start at verse 20. A little bit more context. We read where the people were acting the fool and they responded. And then Moses and God have an exchange about, hey, Lord, don't fly off the handle, don't get too mad, forgive them, blah, blah, blah. You are loving and merciful God, blah, blah, blah. I want to read God's response because it speaks to the issue that is at play, not just for the children of Israel, but what he's looking for ultimately, not just for them, but for us. I know Sharika mentioned we're doing it, but this is the thing that he's looking for us to do. And he kind of spells it out very clearly in contrasting here. So read from um, read from chapter 14, verse 20. Who's that?
It's loud, right?
Oh, it's Kenneth.
All right. Then the Lord said, I will pardon them as you have requested. But as surely as I live, and as surely as the earth is filled with the Lord's glory, not one of these people will ever enter that land. They have all seen my glorious presence and the miraculous signs I performed both in Egypt and in the wilderness. But again and again they have tested me by refusing to listen to my voice. They will never even see the land I swore to give their ancestors. None of those who have treated me with contempt will ever see it. But my servant
Go back,
Caleb,
go back, go back.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So they didn't obey
hmm
and they treated him with contempt.
yeah,
That speaks to the covenant that he made with them, like the nature of the relationship that he entered into them with is a relationship where they agreeing these are the terms of the relationship. And I want to highlight that that dynamic of the relationship is a key idea for interpreting the behavior and the posture. Because if I am coming into a relationship where my responsibility in the relationship is to respect your authority and to be obedient to what you say, then all that is interpreted is now being filtered through that. And their posture is, yeah, we gonna do what we want and only leverage what you can do for us, but we hold the authority here in this relationship. So they're not being faithful to the context of the relationship and the dynamic, the relational dynamic. Keep reading, because he contrasted very clearly with Caleb and Joshua.
but my servant Caleb has a different attitude than the others have. He has remained loyal to me, so I will bring him into the land he explored. His descendants will possess their full share of that land. Now turn around and don't go on toward the land where the Amalekites and the Canaanites live. Tomorrow you must set out for the wilderness in the direction of the Red Sea.
Yeah. And if we play the story forward, Caleb and Joshua now have to wait 40 years for all these people to die out before they could get what's promised to them. But they continue to hold that posture of wholeheartedly following. Yeah. Which is true of the people in the story later on, about not the story later on, the parable that Jesus tells about the context of the relationship. He's your friend, so that's because he's your friend, you will come out and give them. Or will a father give his child? The context of the relationship, or the lady and the magistrate. It's the relational dynamic and the asking and the interplay between the people according to the context of the relationship and being true and faithful to those dynamics. That is key here. And one of the things we see repeatedly with the children of Israel is that they weren't, and God's issue continues to be with them, that they snub their nose at the relationship. And they were disrespectful. That's the issue here. They were disrespectful, they didn't follow me with their whole heart, and they were disobedient. So it's a little bit more than just wanting something and saying you have the power to do it. And I think that posture is revealed in what they do. And here's another good example. When Phinehas runs behind the man, when the Midianites entice the people to sin, and God talking to the people about it, and then the one guy come in the camp, right, with the woman and take her into the tent, right? Phinehas picks up his spear and run behind him and stab him. God's comment to him was, I'm going to give this guy and treat him with love and peace and regard because he honored me as holy, right? He was committed to honoring me in a certain kind of regard. And this action demonstrates that. When Moses gets frustrated with the people and God tells him, hit the rock, and he decides to tell them, must we bring water out of the rock for you? He's in direct contradiction to Phineas. What God says to him is the exact opposite. You didn't honor me as holy, so you not going either. And so there is this in the actions, in the choices, in the speech of the people, this revelation of their posture in terms of the covenant relationship they agree to be in. I think that becomes the issue. And if we're going back to where we started in terms of the faith, that's one of the things you see with David. He stays like Joshua and Caleb in that posture, and all his dynamics and interactions in the relationship are within that posture. So even when he goes and he sleeps with Bathsheba and kills the man, once he's corrected, he still stays in that posture. And he never comes outside of that posture. And that's kind of where Kenrick was, what I saw from what Kenrick pointed out in terms of it's the how we navigate the relationship in maintaining our proper placement in the relationship that translates from patience to impatience. And that takes a simple question such as, Mary, how will this happen? To how will I know for sure that this will happen? And changes those two dynamics. And you can pull any story of any character in the Bible and see that relational dynamic at play. And can then interpret the behavior and not look at the behavior just on its face, but look at the behavior from that lens and see whether, and you see God respond. Nebuchadnezzar is the same thing. Is this the great Babylon that I have built? He stepped outside of the relational dynamic. I entrust this to you. This is not yours. This is mine. You work for me. And as long as you stay in a posture working for me, I let you do whatever, kill whoever, murder whoever, take whatever, anything you want is yours. Yeah, run. Once you start acting outside and you start to take into what is mine and come outside of this relational dynamic, we have a problem. I'm gonna ask it this way. What do you hear me say? Because I say a lot of things. Sorry, Kenrick. Oh, you weren't on mute. Oh, okay. It's just the noise went away, so I was like, oh, is Kenrick still muted?
No, it's crazy outside right now. So
Good noise. What did you hear me say?
Was that for everybody?
Know your roles.
Yeah, it was an open question to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, play your position. I mean, I think that it's hard, right? I think it's very difficult as human beings, and you're constantly battling these things that you can do, these things that you believe that you have the capability of doing, resources you may have through people, through whatever else, right, to accomplish things. And even wanting what you want when you want it. I think all of those things, because you know best, like you're the one that's in it right now, dealing with it. And I think all of that plays, it plays a role in like how we become deceived and thinking that we probably have a little bit more control, or able to dictate to God when we want things and how we want things and how it should play out, because you can do it and I'm the one that needs it. But I do think there is a huge role that we have to play in patiently waiting, in some instances, where it just requires us to just trust him, and be there. And so when you're reading all of this, and even the patiently waiting doesn't mean like you're just sitting, right? I think Caleb, they went, they did, like they went and looked. Um, I think I think there's responsibilities you have in the waiting, but it's allowing God to kind of just guide you and let you know, or guide you in those particular steps. That's also the part of the patiently waiting. But um, yeah, I think just knowing your position and knowing your role, and I think that's where I think one of the things that you mentioned, was the consistency with people throughout the Bible. That was it. I mean, they and when they stepped out of their role, that's what their role was and is, then God checked them. And as long as you were in your role and you played your position, like that was you were fine.
What do you do with dominion?
Was that?
What do you do with the idea of dominion and authority? Like, I'm thinking about, the the authority that was given to Nebuchadnezzar, and then the various beasts and dragons. Like, they have this scope of, or even mankind has dominion over the space. And there's some things that you see that God don't get involved in. That's your thing to worry about. You deal with that. However, I'm not getting involved in that because that's yours. You have authority here, and whatever you decide is where it's going to be. And where's the balance there, or is there a line there? And how do we detect the line? And I think because that, and I asked that because that's
But
kind of where
how do we
Moses
detect the
messed up,
line
right?
if we've been given that authority, or how do we take the line if like as we look at someone else's?
I no, well, I was this was I guess a two-layered question, right? God has given mankind a certain measure of dominion over spaces, and you can see through the Bible that He gives authority to different people for different spaces and times. So there's the general dominion that's been given to us, and then there's the dominion that has been given me over the things that He's entrusted to me, where He don't get involved in certain measure of decisions. That is all me, right? But I'm thinking about then characters like Moses, who was given dominion and charged to run certain things a certain way. But when he got the slap on his wrist, was because he stepped outside. Nebuchadnezzar, same thing. David, same thing. So how can we detect where our dominion ends and we're crossing over? Is there a way to detect when we're crossing out of our boundary? Because you said, it's kind of hard to know, when um, when we have the power to do something, was for us to do. But I believe that God sometimes says, I, I don't care. Figure it out.
Yeah,
I've given you everything you need to make that happen or to take care of that.
I know that we've had this conversation. I don't think I've ever been to the point of that where I believe that God's like I don't care. I know there, you guys. I mean, we've
Well,
had
no,
the
I don't
conversation,
care. It's your decision to make.
or is your decision. Like I think that my
Your problem to
mindset
solve.
has always been like the best practice is to always consult, right? I mean, I think that's just kind of way I've done it. Now that there are many times where I do what you I just make the decision, right? But I do believe that the best practice is to consult. I think he wants us. Um, so I think there's probably very few decisions outside of the hamburger I ate today, um, where I would say that I think he's given me complete authority to make that without consulting him. I don't know a lot of decisions like that for me personally.
Mm.
Okay.
Ah, I don't know, man. I think that is like posture. Um, I think that I looked at the fallen angel. You know, there was a degree of almost of God made you this way, gave you all this talent, these gifts, but then it was like it started to be like, man, look at me. I think that in the same sense, we're humans. With all of us, even here, we are given certain gifts, certain abilities. Um, we've been able to do things for other people, for ourselves. I think there's a part of, or we given dominion over our homes. I think for the most part, for those people that have children, in the sense that is your, like, this is your area. Um, but as Kenrick said, I agree with that. It's like, still think there's an expectation from God about how you managing it. Like, there's a way to do it. I think there's a way that you do it where you have a conscience of, what I will always constantly remember where all of this has come from. Like, this isn't something that I'm being able to do on my own, or I've and somehow, this is me. Like, this is given to me. I always keep that in mind. This is from God. God has given me this. He's given this to me for a reason. Like you said, it's his. I'm going to manage it. It's mine to manage it, but it's his. You know what I mean? So to me, that's that constant thing. Even our own bodies. Like, how many of us here online watching, we think we could do whatever we want with our body, right? But at the same time, we know that the word talks about the body being the temple of God, right? It's like, all right, he gave it to us. We're supposed to do what we can, but in a way, we got to manage it in a way. There's some recommendations on how to use this thing, and kind of way he expect us to do. And if we mismanage it, there's some warnings, or this thing will shut down on you, or whatever the case is. So um, I think it's always just that perspective of, look, remembering that, all right, this was given to me, um, and I'm supposed to manage it a certain way with respect to who's giving it to me.
I like that, Courtney. It sounds like you're saying, um, I have to remember I'm a steward and not an owner. And as long as I operate with a steward mindset as opposed to an ownership mindset, it will guide me differently. And I wonder, Sharika, when you used to work for Tram, did you ever, and were the manager of the thing on Tram's behalf, do you have a different kind of thought process as opposed to when you are the boss over at TW? And is there a difference in the way that you just view the world and manage your responsibilities and even own your responsibilities, or approach your tasks, going from one of those to the next?
Yeah, I mean, one offers protection and another keeps me open, right? So um, it's deeper than that, though. I feel like when I was with Tram, it's kind of like I got Mama Bear. If I do something wrong, she'll figure it out because she knows better. On this side of the fence, if I do something wrong, this is detrimental. Like, this could really go dangerously wrong. But in the same breath, I think when the wins come in, it's like, oh, that was cool to help her win. I get the role I played in that win. That I'm under Pat Riley. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I played my role. And when it comes to my wins now, it's like, oh, I am Pat. Got it. I'm Pat, Shaq, and Kobe. I'm Jordan, Rodman, and like Pippen. Like, that's me. So it is different. I think there's less confidence without the protection. In my opinion, there's less confidence.
Sorry, I need you to finish it. Jordan, Rodman, and Pippen.
Pippen. I said Pippen.
I didn't hear Pippen. I was just.
I said Pippen, and you know why I said Pippen?
I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't focus.
And Cliff is nodding his head. You know why I said it too? Because it's a running joke at FA which Jared can let you know that there was a 3 of us, and we used to call ourselves Jordan, Rodman, and Pippen. This is the truth. Like,
No, I didn't hear Pippin. And it was
okay.
just causing me. It
There
was
we go.
distracting me. So we're
I
good.
said
You're good.
it. So
Okay.
it wasn't me.
Right.
It wasn't me. I was not Jordan. I
You were the worm. She's the worm.
So you were Rodman?
Yeah,
definitely Rodman.
of course.
Yeah.
The rebel. Yeah.
Come on now. At least in my head.
He was like,
In my
Well-
head, I was Rodman. In our leadership's head, I was Pat. Which was interesting. But I say that to say there's yeah, the wins are bigger, but the risk I take are less.
What would happen if you brought the TW mindset into the other space?
I wouldn't be. I don't. If I brought my current TW's mindset into that other space, I don't think I would have been on the starting lineup.
you what? You would not have been?
Mm-mm.
Why?
I understood that I was a player on the team. I'm not calling the shots. I'm allowed to play my position to the best of my ability, but I am under the direction of a captain or a head coach in some way, shape, or form. And there are times where I was playing head coach, but I also had a GM, right? Like, so there was always a level of hierarchy. Over in TW, who gonna check me, right? And I don't mean that. I mean, Kendrick can check me. And him
Because you've given him that power.
Well, I was gonna say, like, he's on the advisory board and he could check me, but he's throwing it back at me. Like, no, you really have the final decision. Like, I can check your posture, but I can't stop you, right? Like, and so if I brought yeah, you could tell me how you feel, but you can't stop me over there. Like, I'm not winning. You know, I'm not winning.
Jerry, do you have that kind of experience in your various roles?
Yes, and what is frustrating is when they do. So in one role, I remember the country manager and telling me, you're gonna realize you're the GM in name only. So we give you the title, we give you the salary, we give you everything, but we still keep you on a very short leash and call all the shots, right? And I think that is more frustrating because it's like, well, why give me the responsibility but not the authority? And you're gonna do crap, and it's gonna you're the guy holding the bag, so you know. That's why I kind of like how God, not kind of, I like how God interacts with us. It's very clear who's in charge. And the sooner I accept that, appreciate that, and I walk in that is the quicker I get peace. So it's like he doesn't have to do anything, he doesn't have to be punitive, but you're gonna be restless until you accept, oh, you're the one calling the plays, okay. And then if you accept he's calling the plays, you listen well for your play, you run your play well. Yeah.
I can I add here? I think when you hear your play, you run your play. I think sometimes you don't know what the play is, right? Like, and I think that's where a lot of us get caught. I genuinely believe those who consider themselves Christians have the want to have the right posture.
Absolutely.
They have the desire to have the right posture. I think we aren't sure when am I playing head honcho? When is this just me being me, or when this me I'm supposed to be on a team? And then sometimes you get smacked on the wrist because you're not even playing on team. Do what you gotta do. Like, why are you not taking up your bed and walking? Like, I'm telling you to go do what you gotta do. And then there are other times where it's like, where you going? You are out of formation, right? Like, what do you mean? Just last week, I was taking up my bed. Matter of fact, just 2 minutes ago, I was taking up my bed. All of a sudden, I found a formation. I done missed it. What happened?
Are there times? Are there times when you're confused about it, like where he doesn't tell you, or
Yeah.
is it?
Oh, I think there's
Well,
a
we
whole
covered that, right? Where
sector.
we're waiting on an answer sometimes, and it's almost like, well, how do I do it? Right? I think there'll always be times when you have that sense of confusion or what happened.
I also think there's a whole sector of my life that I'm like, WTF, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, confusion. And then there are other parts of my life I'm like, yeah, I got this. Don't even worry about it, sweetheart. I'm cool. Like, I think I live in a constant state of divide.
But that
So
posture thing, Sharika, is big. That wanting to want it, and that attitude, that is, yeah. Sorry, Kendrick, you're going to say something.
no,
Me?
Now I want to hear that wrestle that you had there, Kevin. Come on, man. What would you wrestle in with there?
um, no. I was just thinking about what Sharika said because I guess my thing is like I'm going through. I'm going through, and I hate using these terms because I think it's just whatever. I'm going through a season. I hate that word, but whatever. Um, um, a time where I believe God is. I'm having to. Um, God needs me to know, and I think I've had this conversation. God needs me to know that it's He's running. He's running things, right? And so, um, for me, I'm very clear as to what my role is now. And my role right now is not to run things. It's not to operate in this particular space of making decisions and going and doing things. It's really just being patient and waiting and letting God be God, right? The reason why I asked is because I'm very clear as to what my role is right now. Um, and I believe that if that role changes at whatever time he needs to change, he'll be very clear with me, letting me know that that time has changed, right? Um, and so that's why I was asking it. I was just trying to see because it's been for me. It's been very clear.
Yeah, but Cameron, you wrestle differently. Like, I think about, and I'm gonna stay in the job space because it's something to be more familiar with and it's less abstract than a relationship with God, which could be a little confusing. I'm about to ask one of the questions I want to ask eventually is if we could do it in this space, why is it so hard with God, right? But I'm gonna get there. Um, when you were working with the real estate firm,
Mm-hmm.
um, yes, you worked for a dude, but you had a certain measure of autonomy to make decisions, you know, and it wasn't even like stewarding. You had a kind of a partnership level at least where this was my this was my domain, and while I let you know this is really my domain, and yes, I do work for you, but at least in this domain, I am he, I am it. This is mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess that creates a little bit of a tension as opposed to like using Sharika's example when she works for Tram but is submitted to Nick, and Nick is clearly the boss, and we're doing whatever it is Nick wants. There's still a level of I am in charge of this, but while I'm in charge of this, I still even this is being guided by Tram and Nick, right? And has a slightly different dynamic than the one than the one you had. And when she's now over in TW, it's like this is mine, and I'm
But
running this,
but
right?
even to how Sharika explained it, it doesn't change. Like I'm still whatever level it is. It's still I'm making in my autonomy. And it's kind of as we were talking, I thought about the girls, and I was like when the girls go out, although I'm not out there telling them every single decision to make, there is a broad, like, you send them out there like, y'all know what y'all are supposed to do. You know what we're about. You know how we operate. You know what the general rules are, right? You communicate with us if you're going somewhere new. I need to know what's going on. Where are you, all that kind of stuff, right? You don't cuss people out, loudly. No, at all. You don't, there's certain things you don't do, right? And so they know it. And so you send them out there and they know the realm in which they can operate. And that's kind of the same way. I mean, I was given, I had this large level of authority, right? But it still was me doing someone else's bidding. I just have more room, right? And so it doesn't, how it's done changes, right? How much is done changes, but it's still, you're doing it on behalf of someone else, and so that's, so I don't think it's much different.
Okay. Let me ask my question now then, now that we've established that. Why are the lines not as clear when it comes to God? Why do we struggle with that placement when it comes to him? Why is that as difficult as it is, given how clearly you guys articulated and operate in these other spaces? What is it about God that makes it different, or makes that different?
The first thing that came to mind for me, in the tram situation, there's a level of belief in what I'm capable of. Right? She knew and still knows me better than a lot of people I've worked with. She knows what I'm capable of, and in so many ways would give me something and enough to stretch me, but not enough to make me uncomfortable, because she knows at that point I'm aborting mission, right? Like, everybody knew that about me. I'm aborting mission. I'm not doing this anymore, right? And I think in the situation with God, the difference is God doesn't give a crap if I think I'm gonna abort or not, right? Like, it doesn't matter about my personal capabilities anymore. There's a level of insecurity, at least on my side. There's a level of insecurity when dealing with God. What do you really think I'm capable of? Right? Like, I'm looking for a level of affirmation in what you think I'm capable of. And if that's what you think I'm capable of, then I'm going to run with that. Right? But I'm not sure what you think I'm capable of. And even when it comes to my own business, and Kendrick Glass tell you all the time, I will call him questioning whether or not I am capable. He'd be like, no, I mean, I prayed for you to lose your job. I know you're capable, right? Like, it is what it is.
But I didn't pray for you to lose your job.
You did.
Yeah, and I get past the rush. Thanks.
I prayed that you would actively leave your job.
No. I remember you prayed that
not passively.
I end up being part of that prayer. Like, I was impacted by your prayer, Kendrick.
Thank you, folks, for setting the record straight. Kendrick Blake prayed that my job wouldn't continue. That's what he prayed.
Wow.
Yeah, when he did that,
I can own that.
Yeah.
And even in that case, though, at least for me, there is a, hey, Henrik, am I good? Like, and Jared, you and I could talk. Even when I would get myself in some situation, I'd call you and be like, am I bugging? Like I have that insecurity on whether or not this is okay. And so I think with God, it's not clear to me, what do you really think I can do versus when I'm supposed to lean this way or lean that way. And so a lot of it's trial and error. And I get my hand hit sometime like you weren't supposed to do that. And then other times I get that, what took you so long? Right. And so I stay in a constant state of confusion, because I'm just like, well, which ones fall on this side and which ones fall on the other side? That's me.
There's uncertainty. Okay. Jerry, what makes it difficult for you, or is it difficult for you? Have you settled into it? Is it now smooth sailing, or do you wrestle? Did you wrestle?
I would fluctuate a lot. I would settle into it, and then I identify with Israel because but I think certainly maybe over the past year or two, I've settled into it. But trust me, for a while I'll be good in it for like a week or two, and then, like David said, I was patient. But right now, yeah.
Can we make it sound easy? So is it easy for you to play your position, or do you struggle?
No. I'm not even saying this. I don't like I just have a different perspective of life. Like I just like I'm listening to Sharika, and for me, it's not. It's like it has nothing to do with capability. My capabilities are you can be the best or the absolute worst, right? And that's the thing. You could be on the street begging for food, or you could be in a on a high rise penthouse, you know, I it's all of that's all and it goes in between, right? And I'm just like I don't know what it is that you're going to require of me. So I don't know,
Hmm.
right? And I guess I'm trying to get to the point where if it is, if you need me to be on the street begging, I guess that's what I'll be doing. And it's and so I'm trying to that's where I'm trying to be,
Got it.
right? And so the rest of it, so you play up, the goal is to play your position wherever he needs you to play your position, and it's literally at his behest. And some of it's gonna suck, right? Some of it may be painful, like with sicknesses or illness, or watching kids do get. I don't know, right? And so, but the one thing I know is that I'm no different or better than anybody else, and they've the worst of what somebody's dealing with, I am completely capable of dealing with that same thing, and the best of it is the same. It's whatever I need to, whatever role.
See. How about you, Lorraine? What makes that, or are you able to kind of just settle and play your position, or do you struggle in the same kind of, you know, I can do it in my work environment, but somehow with God it's different. I can accept the authority of these people and play my position and know this is my domain and they in charge of this and I'm in charge of this, and but with God it is a little bit more unclear. Is it good for you? Easy for you?
Um, hmm. I think for me, my issue usually lies around like ambiguity. Like if the stuff is not clear. So like clear, like Shrika says, clear as to what he expects, clear as to what he believes, clear as to like my own belief in myself. Because even in like workspaces, if you even choose school or your job or whatever, I tend to step back from leadership positions. I like to be in the background. I don't like to be in the choir. I want to be in the back. um,
Think
and
base.
so like, and so like for me, when he wants me to step forward, it's like, are you sure? What about like this guy? What about like this girl? Like they can really like do what I like. I've seen them do it. Like they're definitely the one you want to go and do this with. And so, but I'm not hearing the yeah, you got this. And so then I'm like, and I've like even from when I was young, I think I've said this before. Like I've constantly prayed um, for like that audible. I mean, and it don't necessarily be like our understanding of audible, but something clear communication um, with him. But I feel like my life experiences um, have affected my ability to trust people, which affects like to some level like my trust in God. Like I think I talked to you guys before about like my whole thing with like perfectionism. Like if it's not just right, like I can't because I'm always doubting like my abilities, is his assignment of me. Um, is he gonna do the thing? Not that he if he can do it, will he do it? You know? And then like just holding on. I think the only anchor I've had my entire life is his heart towards me.
Mm.
That's it. Everything else, like I literally have to work through, like I'll go through the fear, I'll go through the not knowing, and I'll always land at, but he's a good God, right? I'll cry through it, crawl through it, whatever, but I always land there. It just, I think it's the climbing and the crawling is shorter as time goes by. Earlier, I would have probably had to go through mud and barbed wires and fences and stuff. Now I'm hopping over a couple fences. Now I'm just, but I still had to go through the same thing. I mean, it's easier with people because you you get feedback. You don't get as much feedback.
That's that abstract thing.
Yeah, like you don't get as much feedback, so you're not like you can guess, you can surmise, you can deduce, but a lot of time, at least for me, I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know, like.
But is there anything that he does that is, there are times when I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm getting feedback, and then I kind of just sit down and was like, oh, but he did this.
Did he?
Oh, but he did.
My question is,
that.
I will go that, and then I'll go, but did he?
Did he?
Was that him, or was that me, and was that indigestion? But did he?
Yeah. No, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You get immediate, clear responses, whether nonverbal communication from the other person, whether it be verbal. There's always like a communication that is understandable amongst us, right? But with him, it's like, I don't know. Are you mad? Are you happy? Are you proud? Or are you just letting it flow and letting me learn my lesson on the back end? Like, what are we?
I got you. How about you, Cliff? Is it easy for you? I know you're a little bit more seasoned than the rest of us. Have you settled into?
He called you old.
He did on the slide. Listen, that wasn't even on the slide either.
Which doesn't even make sense because there's some food.
I was giving you respect
just
for being
new. It's just got flavor on it.
Hey, that's what it is. I am going to say, as far as work is concerned, it is great. It's gravy. I'm given a certain amount of autonomy, but I know that there's somebody that I report to, and it's more of me getting the job done in the way I may need to get the job done. I'm given some leeway to be able to do that, but I know that if I go too far, I have somebody that kind of governs that, pulls me to the side and says, "Okay, hey, let's make sure we watch out for this because we could get sued." So I understand that.
Super fast.
I think that with God, man, it is the same, but it's slightly different. And I think that the way I keep bringing this thing up is that it's relational, man. I think God has always trying to get back what was lost, and that's the relationship that was severed at the garden. And he gives that leeway and that autonomy with the guardrails out. And I think the deeper my relationship with him comes or goes, I start to understand how much freedom I have, but also understand the guardrails. Kind of like what you were saying earlier, Kenrick, with your daughters and stuff. Like they know the rules, right? So with God, it's like the deeper my relationship goes, I start to understand how much freedom I do have. Like at work, I know I know what I can do and what I can get away with, and I also know when I'm pushing the limits. But I know that there's a ceiling or somebody I have to answer to. It's just that my relationship, I feel that my relationship with God is not a Moses relationship, it's not a David relationship. You know what I'm saying? Not a Nehemiah relationship. I think that Jonah is sometimes a Thomas or a Judas relationship. I'm just, and that's why it makes it difficult that I feel like I'm doing some things on my own. And then But at the same time, I know that he's doing things for me because there's some things that just happen. I just know that it just didn't fall in my lap like that. It's not no consequence. I mean, excuse me, not anything that just happened by coincidence, right? Somebody told me something about, we were talking about worrying. I was like, man, I don't have time to worry. I just got to get it done. You know what I'm saying? When it happens, I just got to get it done. I ain't got time to worry about it. I just got to get done. And I've seen things get done, and I know I can't take full credit for it. Did I pray about it? Yeah, maybe. You know, but I know for full fact that I didn't do it. I can't take credit for all that, right? So that's kind of like where I am, man. It's like I'm starting to understand that I just need to get my relationship better with him, and then some of the questions and the doubts that I have will go away because I'll just kind of understand it. Like, I mean, it's if we just go by the 10 Commandments, man, some of the things are broad, and he gives us freedom to operate within that. And the way that he comes at you may be different than the way he comes at me, but we're still operating within the same fence. So I said a lot. I'm sorry, but that's it.
No, I like it. I receive it.
You ain't said nothing all night.
Connie,
I've been listening.
You good? It's good. When you're seasoned, you can.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Listen, I appreciate that. I hope to get more seasons. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Very shortly, for some of you all, you'll be right here with me.
One could hope.
There you go. See,
I like to validate
that right there, that comment right there was a little overboard.
I like to validate people's expertise and their experience, right? Give them credit for that. Keep being a dodo, Cliff. How about you, Courtney? Do you struggle with it, or you settled into it?
Man,
handle it going from the work environment and then making that equivalent to God, and you just cool.
I mean, I think the work thing, kind of similar to what Cliff was saying. I think the work environment is a little bit more straightforward. I think you kind of know exactly what you're looking for in terms of, oftentimes you get a kind of like a game plan of expectations, quarterly, monthly, whatever. You get these metrics, checks, etc. Could you do a little bit more? Can we add a little bit more? All those kind of things. When it comes to the Lord, this pursuit of this, like, growing in righteousness, progressing. I don't know, man. I look at it like two parts. It's like the dying to self, and there's, I think through the word, reading it, studying it, we talk about it. Oftentimes, I'm grateful for these accounts like David, where someone like Joseph, I would wonder like what was he thinking about during them times. You just kind of time skip. You don't know what he was thinking about. Versus David's just sitting here like, man, this sucks. He's depressed. He's whatever. Then it's like, but God is good, right? And it's like I'm going through those things, those thoughts. God trying to, and then I'm thinking about, man, is these things I'm going through like testing? I'm getting tested, or am I like, what am I supposed to do in terms of like, you know what, God, your word says to do this, and I still can't really do this well. Like, I'm struggling doing this. You said the spirit, your spirit is going to help me, and I'm still failing this. Like, and it's just, that's that one part, and then the other part is the dealing with others. Like, I think that's where is even tougher, because I can have all of this. I think, again, Water for the Thirsty helped me with that the most. We talk about God wanting us to do life with each other, right? And it's like, dealing with other people and their their things going on, and it's like how we supposed to kind of have this, um, like I guess this agape, this caring. And I'm like, some days, God, I'm like, man, I'm not really interested to sit down here and listen to what's going on with somebody else right now, or um, I'm not actively concerned like that, or man, they tripping. I don't even want to be around a lot of people. I kind of want to be by myself. Is that the way I'm supposed to be? Like, these are the things that I sit down here and like debating with, and I'm like, God, are you? I don't feel like I'm progressing sometimes in the way that you want me to be. Um, or or certain situations happening because I guess I haven't learned my lesson yet, right? Or whatever the case is. So those are the things that like I'm going on with, like this practice of righteousness. This I'm not even tripping on God on how long is whatever it is he bringing me through, because I'm thinking whatever he's going through, whatever he's got me going through, he's trying to get me to this place of uh where he could save me. So my thing is, I'm more looking at myself like, how long is it going to take me to get, because I'm thinking another year, I don't feel like I'm any better at this or whatever. Am I wasting time or I'm losing time? So that's my thought. I know it's a little different from everybody else, but that's what I'm looking at it. Like, his purpose to me is to help get me ready for this next life, right? And it's just that's what I'm always constantly thinking about. Like, all right, I'm battling the way I feel now, the way this body makes me feel now. I'm really kind of more interested in taking care of me, but I'm not really supposed to be like that, and that constant fight of be more concerned about things of God and his purposes and his things, and then be more concerned with other people. It's just like, when does this get easier? When does this come like a thing? Like Paul, Paul's like, man, I'm ready to come here on my mission, and I'm trying to sit down here and jump in here and do life with y'all, and we gonna be here chilling. I can't eat from everybody. I'm not trying to be in people crib. I'm not trying to have people in my crib like that for real. Like, I'm not into that type of stuff. But this is like, to me, modeling discipleship is kind of like, "Dawg, I don't feel like I'm there." Or is this the way it's supposed to be done? Or what's the best way that I could utilize what you've given me to do? So that's what we like every day. This opportunity. Sometimes I kick myself like, damn, somebody just came to me randomly. Some people just come to me in the stores and different places sometimes, and just like, hey man, there was something about me that made them wanna. And I come back later because I'm in my store. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, 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 yeah. But I'm trying to do my shopping. And then I come back later like, oh damn, was that an opportunity to I missed it. I missed it again, right? So those are the things that happen with me. Like, I'll be like, oh man, test failed again. Next time I'll be ready. Will I? Oh, sure.
I ain't gonna lie, Courtney. I listening to you and I thinking, I think I have childhood trauma. I say that because I remember this one time my mother, I wanted to do something, and my mother said, "Here, well, I have the biggest breast in the house, and when your breasts get bigger than mine, you could do whatever you want. But until such time, I am the boss." And so I have been living with not never. I never believed my breasts would get bigger than hers, but
What do titties have to do with?
that idea of autonomy in my own space.
Right.
Right? I've been, growing up to be a man, to have autonomy over my own space. Once you live under my roof, you do my rules. At what point do I move into my own space where I am setting direction?
Hmm.
And then you come and you start following God and you learn about lordship and you realize that you're moving into your own house for somebody else to still be in charge. And then you go and you get married and you have to yield to equality of your wife, so somebody else still in charge. And when do I get to the point where this is my house and I gonna run it the way I want to run it? And that struggle, that tension, trying to get to the biggest breast, is impacting my ability to wrestle with God, because do you ever grow into that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's impacting my ability to focus on this conversation. 'Cause
That's what the lady tells me. She say, I have the biggest breast in the house, so I am the
that's
boss.
crazy.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
your breasts get bigger than mine, you could come in and give direction. But
My
until such
gosh.
times, you will listen to what I say. I just understood that I have to live in her house and do whatever she say until I have to move, right? Until it's my
Yeah.
So
house.
Yeah.
I've been in a constant pursuit of when is that point for me? And God has never really given me that blah. He's never said, yeah, this is your show, run it how you want. But in a way, he's kind of said, you know what? Let me see what happens if you run it. Let me see if you do it your way, how it go work out. Will it give
Yeah.
you what you desire? I will watch. Let me see.
Keon.
You want it? Go ahead, run with it a little bit. But I guess that level of autonomy and decision making authority is something that has been elusive to me, and so I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because lordship is putting me back in my mother's house, and God now have the biggest breast. It's not my mother, it's God now, and
So
you know,
sad. Yeah.
and so it's just I feel like a child again. And I'm wondering, do I ever grow to adulthood? And what does adulthood look like in that servant posture? Do we ever? Just even American life. You get this whole. You grow up and you do your own thing, and you move out to your parents. And even that dynamic with your parents is, they are still your parents. You're still respectful, but it's now my house. They can't tell me how to run it, right?
Yeah.
Because this is now my house. It's my children. It's my family. It's now mine. And that American mindset has
I don't know if you ever grow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, she did, Cleon. Yes, she absolutely did. And if you
I'm
know
glad I
my
saw that.
mother,
It was
you
not
know that is
KKK.
something she would say.
Hey, man.
That is exactly something she would say.
Most of us West Indian people, I think your parents they will still strongly suggest, even with you,
Strongly suggest
they will strongly suggest.
what we not gonna do. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Do we ever grow into that space? I'm guessing the way this conversation has been going, and my understanding of the scripture is like, no, you end up living that whole. If you do the lordship of Christ thing, you live in that
I think
space in perpetuity, and you learn to go into that space. And for a while I was okay with that, but I still feel like maybe I just need to redefine that whole manhood idea and authority idea, and just embrace that I'm going to live like this child forever. But I just
But isn't that like the except ye be as little children, you can't enter? Like, I mean, it's literally painting that picture of reliance, right?
Mm.
And and it's that it wasn't like then you grow up and you enter in the kingdom. Like, it was just like
Right.
then that's the only way you can enter into the kingdom of heaven is if you become a little child, which is the complete reliance on. So in of that, I don't think the goal for him is for us to grow up.
exactly right. You don't become an adult and live your own life with your parents as
Right.
advisors. God does never
No,
become an advisor. He remains the parent, like
correct.
always. He remains the boss,
Correct.
like always. And so these social structures of moving out on your own and setting the old terms for your own house and how you want to live in your household, and when you get your own space, you could do that. That challenges my ability to accept God in His role, because I'm still seeking that out, and I don't think I've abandoned that course yet.
Mm.
Gotcha.
I probably need to, but I haven't quite yet. I'm still seeking that out. And marriage didn't help.
Nah.
Marriage doesn't help. No, like It's not your house. It's our house. So yeah, it's a different kind of sharing.
I run my house, dog. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, nah,
I told her
y'all,
to go to bed. She in there
y'all
sleep now. I was like, don't come back out here.
are right.
I believe that you run about 2 laps around your house every day.
You said 2 laps.
I mean, yo, like what? It's supposed to be like one body. Like, hey, you know what's best for your body. You know what? You need to go get a rest. That's what it is. Like, it's cool. Trust me. That's all it is. It's cool.
Okay, I'm going to go first in my takeaways. That whole idea of patience, and patiently waiting by remaining true to my role in the dynamic of the relationship and not trying to come and take over. Like, I knew that whole lordship thing touches everything, but I've never seen it in the whole patience idea. Because I didn't define patience. Well, I didn't even have a definition for patience. I knew it was a word that we use, but I never really gave it any thought. And so that idea has stuck with me, and that's what I'm going to take away today. I'm so responsible. Okay, all right. Bishop, I'm gonna go with you next.
I feel like I was spun around, up and down, and around and around. Yeah, I think my takeaway is that I have a different perspective that I don't know if it's a right one or a wrong one about faith and patience. That maybe I should validate or invalidate, right? Like it's just a different perspective that I'm not sure if it's great or bad, but it's just different.
Something to explore. I got you. How about you, Courtney? What you going on with?
Um, I think for me, we were just talking about that difference in numbers of the, I guess, the group, the congregation of the Israelites, as in contrast to Caleb, just having different a different attitude, um, different posture. Being that, I would say he took the opposite, right? Didn't treat God with contempt. He listened to God's voice, um, and I just think that we keep talking about this in the context of relationship. Um, there's that lordship. I'm just trying to learn about more about that daily. I think these great conversations help me to kind of work out that that application uh, daily, and being cool with that, being cool with, like we talking about, dying to self, and being, hey, whatever you want, whether or not I feel like it, or if I think it's a good idea, if it's in my wheelhouse, in my list of to dos for today, I want to take that time to get that taken care of, uh, because it's, your position, and also because there's a greater purpose in store for me, that he has for me, why he's asking me to do it.
Word. How about you, Cliff?
I'm going to say that we need to be mindful and careful about how and what we complain about God too, because it just might get you killed.
Amen. Lori?
So proper praying posture is what kept rolling in my head. And like,
What is that?
so it's still rolling, right? So
Oh,
3 things I wrote down. I first wrote like his ability to provide or to do, right? So we can do it, some of those things, and he could do some of them, right? And then so like the patient part that we were talking about earlier is yes, I can do it. Some of those things are within my power, but should I do it? Like, okay. Then I thought about my heart, his heart, my faith in his heart towards me. So like we can know someone can do something, but we don't know if they care enough about us to do it. Right? So I have to believe, okay, he can do the thing. He has a heart towards me that should this thing be, good for me, he would do it. And then the last thing I wrote down was his eternal sovereignty, right? Because like we talked about dominion but there's a lot of people in this world that's got sovereignty, right? But it's limited, right? And then so believing not only can he do it and his heart towards me is good, everything is under his authority. There's not a single thing that is outside of his scope that he can't reach, that he can't touch. And not only can he do within his sovereignty, he could stop, right? Whatever thing that it is that's coming against you or whatever. And so like for me, I was writing those things as things that are fundamental, that I feel are fundamental when you're having the right, proper praying posture.
I'm gonna ask you to write it out and share it because that could preach. That's powerful. Those 4 ideas are powerful ideas. I'm sure there are people who could benefit from that. So, yeah, you can write that out and share it. We could pass it along. Kendrick.
I guess it stays with around the consistency of posture, but it's but even in that posture, based upon just our relationships with God and who we are as individuals, all those things are going to look a little different. Like it's the same posture, but how mine plays out, and Jared's plays out, and Sharika's, and Courtney, and Jerry, and I think it may look different. And so I liked what Cliff said, because he was saying it's not, mine doesn't look like this, doesn't look like this, it's a mixture of this, and kind of like, and I think that's right. And I think, there are a lot of times, you read a story, it's like, oh, this is what it should look like, and it's really just focusing on the relationship that you're developing. And for me, it's, understanding that it's going to look like it's going to look like something different, because I'm going to be different and my circumstances are going to be different. And so it's just really just staying true to that. So that's one of the things that kind of just stuck out. I mean, you guys mentioned other things that kind of hit me as well, but y'all already mentioned them. So
Got you. All right, Jerry.
I think really for me, what I'm walking away with is playing my role. For a couple of weeks now, I've really been trying some advice that you gave about waking up with the attitude of a servant, right? Okay, what can I do today? What am I supposed to do today? And even in tonight's conversation, it's tying into the old. Well, what's your role? And your role, tied to your purpose, it could change, but it's not your purpose. It might change from day to day, right? Or season to season. And I'm finding that understanding that and just playing it, there's a lot more peace, a lot more clarity, even a lot more impact. So
Yeah, when you give up control, absolutely.
'cause what is control, right? What we have is, because control is only reserved for God. What we have is responsibility. We don't actually
Absolutely.
have control. We might like to delude ourselves that we do, but yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I didn't want to be in Trinidad. I liked it. It was good, but I didn't want to be there. And I'm realizing how much that whole dynamic is affecting my ability to say yes to God. Because I kept living in this space of I'm gonna do this for now, and then I'm gonna have the opportunity to decide for myself. And I'm gonna do this for now, and then I'm gonna have the opportunity to decide for myself. And so I've been in pursuit of this opportunity to decide for myself my whole life, only to run into God to tell me, keep living just so. And you like shattered my whole dreams, right? Like I've been working towards this thing my whole life, and now you're telling me stay in that same posture. I don't want to live like that no more. You know, and that tension is for real, for real. And so when you say, you know, it gives you more peace, I'm not sure that I
Yeah.
intellectually hear you and agree with you,
Mhm.
but I'm
Yeah,
still in pursuit of something else.
hey, I feel it there. That even that piece is newfound, because it's been a struggle getting to the place where I'm like, because like you, in my own way, it was always okay. So when do I get to steer this wheel of my life? Right, it's mine. Yeah, it's not. And there are days when I'm still like, for real though. But this is how this has to go down. Why not? I was thinking
Forever, ever, forever,
forever,
ever.
yeah.
All right. I didn't see anything else come in the chat.
Forever feels too long until it's gone.
Mm.
Yeah, we could add that one too. All right. Thank you guys for the conversation. We touched a whole lot of things. I think we went through, various readings from this week and various ideas, and they all kind of interplayed and intertwined. So thank you for that conversation. Who would like to volunteer for prayer besides the bishop? Because I know she wants to volunteer, like she's itching over there to volunteer. But before she puts her hand up, does anybody want to take her place?
I was just gonna let her put her hand up.
Oh, okay.
Now, come on, let's go. I'll do it.
Okay.
If you don't, you good? All right. So, Father, once again, we come before you, thanking you for all of your goodness and your mercy given to us today. We thank you for being with us in Water for the Thirsty, and hope that the words and the conversations that we have will go out and touch thousands, if not millions, Father, that will lead them to you. We pray that what we talk about will give people something they can use, something they can hold on to, and something they can share with others. Now, Father, as we conclude this session today, we're asking that you will help us in your relationship and our relationship with you. Help us to understand our roles. Help us to come to a clear understanding that it not only benefits us, Father, but leaves us in a space with you that we are happy to say, hey, this is mine, and I can take it where I need to take it. We thank you. We give you all praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We here every first and third Friday, but I'm sure you know that already, which means we're here again on the first Friday in April, which I think is April 5th. April 5th. So we have 2 weeks. Because March has 5 Fridays. So we'll be off for 2 weeks. All right. Man, I miss you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, first Friday in April, and we'll have a lot to talk about. Read with us. If you haven't already gotten a copy of the reading plan, download it to your phone from any of the app stores, and then read with us. And if you'd like to join our conversation, feel free to bring your ideas. And what did I miss?
What
Yeah,
do you do?
I don't know. I missed it. But if you
Man, it
type
sound like somebody shooting. It smell like somebody
Look,
shooting.
I was about to duck and cover over here. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh no, they're
Every time you
they're right
call
out.
like, pow, pow. I'm like, man,
They're right out.
who is he
They're
shooting?
right outside.
Okay.
here's the shooter. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, if you
It's
don't want to join the
Fias.
conversation, we have a couple spaces. Just shoot me a message in waterforthetc.com on Facebook, on YouTube, and we can send you the link, and you can come in and bring either your thoughts from your own reading or anything that we're talking about. Feel free to come in. We could talk a little bit. Happy to have you. As you can see, we have people all around the world or around America. I don't think everybody's in the DMV. There's only 4 of us are in the DMV right now. Everybody else is far away. So on different time zones and everything. So like Jerry had to coordinate with him to make sure he was on time today, even though he got it for himself because the clock went back and it was like, is it 9 or is it 8? So my point is, feel free to join us from wherever you are in the comfort of your home. We'd love to have you if you'd like to join us. All right, until next time, drink up, drink deeply, and we'll see you soon. Peace.